How's it going, everyone? And welcome to skillcapped's final low elo picks of the patch for Season 10. With the season coming to a close in the next few days, we wanted to give you guys one last update on who we think are the best champions to climb with in Platinum and below. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos like these. And with that being said, let's get into it. Starting off in the top lane, Nasus will be making his first appearance on our list after the buffs he received this patch. His ultimate had its bonus resistances buffed, which makes his level 6 all-in threat and skirmish really strong. It's no secret that Nasus has always been one of the best scaling champs in the game, so for Riot to give him a bit of a boost to his early game, it makes him a much more well-rounded champion. His first couple of levels are still weak, and that's where he can be exploited, so make sure you're playing safer early, farming up your stacks so that you can scale into the late game monster that he is. Before you take the dog into ranked, let's make sure you're running the most optimal setup. For your build, start off with a Doran shield to help you survive early on. Rush a Trinity Force as your first core item and then transition into tank, with Thornmail and Spirit Visage being great options. If you're laning against a champion who heals a lot like Fiora, Darius or Renekton, then rushing a Bramble Vest and sitting on it until mid-game where you eventually upgrade it into Thornmail is a great strategy. Your runes will consist of Grasp as your keystone and Inspiration secondary, taking free boots and Cosmic Insight to give you more scaling power. The best bans for Nasus right now are Urgot, Quinn, and Darius. All three of these champs can give Nasus a lot of trouble early on, making them great ban choices. Holding down his spot from previous patches, our second top laner on the list is Urgot. He is overall the most consistent and strongest top laner you can play right now if you want to climb out of low elo. Urgot is very simple to pick up, has a strong laning phase and a really good mid-game spike, and has amazing solo carry potential when ahead. Once you get your Black Cleaver and Death's Dance, no one will want to go anywhere near you, as you can start shredding your opponents to pieces. Your third item on Urgot can be really versatile and change almost every game. If you want more damage and sticking power, you can opt for a Frozen Mallet. If you're looking to teamfight and want more survivability, you can go towards a Guardian Angel. Both Thornmail and Mortal Reminder are great if you need to counter the enemy's healing. There's really nothing better than press the attack for your keystone on Urgot right now. His W allows him to proc it instantly, which gives him amazing trading power throughout the game. Dip into the resolve tree for your secondary page and take bone plating and overgrowth. Some good ban options for Urgot are Shen, Kayle, and Darius. Shen can be annoying due to his dodge effect from his W. Kayle will outscale and kite you around later on, and Darius can match Urgot's early laning strength. Our third and final top pick of the patch is Kayle. Kayle's been performing so much better in the recent patches due to a bunch of direct changes over the past couple of months. Kayle's E cooldown being reduced gave her even more scaling power, and the projectile speed being increased on the same spell makes her synergy with press the attack even better than before, as she can use her E as an auto attack reset and proc PTA super quick. She's also a versatile pick as well because of the options you have on her build path. If you're lacking AP damage, you can go for the standard Gunblade into Nashor's and Rageblade. However, if you need AD damage, then the newish Sanguine Blade setup can do the trick. The Sanguine Blade Rush into a Stormrazor and Infinity Edge performs exceptionally well as a core build on Kayle. Even though you lose a little bit of upfront burst due to the lack of AP, the build provides her with a lot more DPS from her autos, giving her insane presence in extended mid to late game teamfights. And like we briefly mentioned a moment ago, press the attack will be your go-to keystone on Kayle. Be sure to take Overheal along with Biscuits and Time Warp Tonic to give yourself some added sustain to help you get past the early levels. Some champs you want to consider banning out when playing Kayle would be Tryndamere, Riven, and Irelia. Kayle tends to struggle the most against champions who can close the gap right on top of her and make it difficult for her to abuse her ranged advantage. So any three of those champs are great bans for Kayle. Moving on to our jungle picks, with the likes of Hecarim and Evelynn being hit with nerfs in the past while, our jungle list looks a bit different. Rammus will be one of the newcomers moving into our top 3. The combination of strong early gank strength with exceptional scaling and tankiness makes him such a consistent pick for the lower elos. Rammus does an amazing job at shutting down so many meta picks like Master Yi, Lee Sin, and Graves. If those three champs don't get a monstrous lead on Rammus early on, they won't be able to play the game post 20 minutes due to Rammus' armor stacking and perma-taunting them in fights. It's not just his ability to counter meta jungle picks that makes him so great. If the enemy team picks Zed, Yasuo, or Yone mid, who all have over a 10% play rate in low elo, it's likely that the enemy team will have a full AD composition, making Rammus even more godlike. For your build, start off with rushing your Blue Smite Cinderholt. Go Thornmail second and then Righteous Glory third. In the event where the enemy team is more AP heavy, then you can grab an Abyssal Mass 2nd or 3rd to give yourself some magic resist. For your runes, there's really nothing better than Aftershock for your keystone. For your secondary tree, go Precision with Triumph and either Alacrity or Tenacity based on how much CC the enemy team has. Some good bans to consider would be any meta AP jungler. At the moment, Fiddlesticks, Nunu, and Lilia are played a lot and are really strong picks, so we would recommend you ban one out of those three. Another jungler making his first appearance on our list is Fiddlesticks. Fiddle's a top tier pick no matter what rank you're playing at the moment, but an even stronger pick for low elo due to players' lack of awareness and vision control. With his ultimate being on such a short cooldown and players having the tendency to completely disregard him, you can find so many picks at level 6 onwards and just snowball the game out of control. Whenever your ult is up, you should be looking for opportunities to set up behind a wall and engage when the enemy team walks in range. For your build, a little trick you can do to start off the game is grab a Hunter's Talisman with 1 potion and a control ward. You don't need the extra sustain on Fiddlesticks, so you can grab that control ward to provide your team with some early vision and prevent them from dying to early ganks. Your complete core build will be Runic Echo's Blue Smite into Azonius and then Rabadons. Liandry's and Morello are also good third item alternatives. Take Liandry's if you're against a heavy HP stacking team and Morello if the enemy team has a ton of healing. For your runes, both Electrocute and Dark Harvest work great on Fiddle, so it really comes down to preference. Dark Harvest statistically does perform better than Electrocute in the lower ranks due to the Fiesta style of play and your ability to obtain multiple stacks throughout the game. However, if you want some more early game power, then Electrocute is still a good option. For your secondary runes, you want to run Inspiration with Perfect Timing and Cosmic Insight. The 3 best bans when playing Fiddle are Zac, Nunu, and Olaf. All 3 champs can rush Spirit Visage and become really tanky and annoying to deal with, so banning one of them out is ideal. To round out our final 3 jungle picks, we have Nunu. Nunu's playstyle is very similar to that of Rammus, as his early spam gank has proven to be extremely effective. His pathing can be quite unique and unexpected. Level 2 Nunu ganks are super strong, so if your support has a good CC ability, they can lock the enemy down at level 1. Take your buff and make your way down bot to impact the map early on. A simple 3 camp into gank at level 3 can also be great for Nunu, but the point is that you want to be as active as possible in the map early on, looking to secure both Scuttle Crabs and picking up early dragons to accelerate your team to a Dragon Soul win condition. For your build, you want to rush a Cinder Hulk Red Smite, go into Protobelt 2nd and then either Spirit Visage or Dead Man's 3rd based on the enemy composition. Face Rush has taken over as the best keystone on Nunu now. And for your secondary page, go with Domination, taking Cheap Shot and Relentless Hunter. A few champs to consider banning when playing Nunu are Kayn, Master Yi, and Hecarim, as all 3 of them can beat you up quite easily once they get a few items. Heading over to the mid lane, fresh off his buffs, Brand will be one of the 3 mid laners on our list. With these buffs, Brand's mid win rate for low elo skyrocketed from 49% all the way up to 53%. Brand's E now automatically bouncing to nearby targets gives him a lot more poke power early on, and the fact that his ult can now bounce off of himself gives him a much stronger 1v1 at level 6. We already know how much damage this champ can pump out in teamfights even as a gold deprived support, so when you put him in the mid lane and accelerate his build path, he becomes even more of a god in those mid game fights. The build for Brand mid is a bit all over the place at the moment. Luden's rush into Liandry's and Rylai's is what most people are leaning towards. However, completely skipping the Ludens and just rushing Liandry's into Rylai's and Zhonya's seems to be a viable option as well. It really just comes down to your mana expenditure. If you're able to preserve mana well and grab blue buffs, then ignoring Ludens and getting your Liandry and Rylai spike is ideal. If you find yourself running into mana issues, then rushing a Ludens is still a great option. For runes, it's pretty similar to what you'd take for support. Dark Harvest will be your keystone and Sorcery secondary, with Mana Flow and Scorch. Brand's worst matchups are against assassin picks who can get right on top of him and burst him out. For that, we would recommend you ban Fizz, Zed, or LeBlanc. And speaking of Fizz, he's gonna be the 2nd mid on our list. He's been one of the best assassin picks for a while now, as his ability to snowball the early game and extend his lead is some of the best for any mid lane champ. The only weak point he has really is his first 2 levels. If you're in a range matchup to where you can get poked early on, make sure to play safe and don't get chunked before you get to level 3. Once you do get level 3 on Fizz, it's gonna be smooth sailing from here on out, as his trading pattern of Q, Auto, W auto attack reset, and Eing away is one of the strongest in the game. For your build, there are a lot of different variations you can choose from. There's a standard Protobelt rush into Lichbane and Zonius, which gives you some nice added wave clear, and an extra gap closer to dodge skill shots and stick on targets. Some people just like to skip Protobelt and rush a Lichbane into Zonius and Deathcap, and then there's the Zonius rush setup into Lichbane and Rabadons, which can do really well for you against AD mid champs. For your runes, you have two different options. Electrocute is the standard setup you see most Fizz players take. However, Press the Attack can also work well and is very underrated. You proc PTA super fast with Fizz, which gives you a lot of benefit from the 8% damage amp it provides. If you haven't tried PTA out on Fizz, then give it a shot and see if you like it. Some good bans you want to consider when playing Fizz are Galio, Kassadin, and Diana. All three do a great job at shutting Fizz down due to their shields and easy access to Zonius in their core builds. Closing out our final mid picks is Annie. With the changes Annie received to her E in this patch, it's actually made her an even stronger pick for the lower ranks. Being able to shield herself and her teammates as well gives her some nice added utility to go along with her insane one-shot. There just isn't any better champion in the game right now if you seriously want to climb for the end of Season 10. In order to find the most success on the champion, really focus on your objective control and one-shotting for the Fog of War. Control vision around dragons before they spawn. Let the enemy face check into you and burst them out with your no counterplay point and click one-shot. Annie's build path consists of a Ludens rush into a Rabadons and then either a Void Staff or Zonius. You can grab Zonius before Deathcap as well if the enemy team has a lot of dive champs. Take Electrocute as your keystone and Inspiration as your secondary with Free Boots and Cosmic Insight. Due to Annie's shorter range on her abilities, she tends to struggle in matchups where the enemy has long range pick abilities. For this reason, Lux, Fizz, and Vel'Koz are a few of her harder matchups and are good ban options. Heading down to the bot lane for our 3 ADC picks, we have Miss Fortune up first. MF being on this list should really be no surprise, as she's been a staple low elo pick throughout almost every single season, and nothing has changed in that regard for Season 10. Miss Fortune's laning phase is super strong, her level 6 all-in is unmatched, and her mid to late game team fighting is pretty easy to execute, and so much more impactful than most other ADCs. While she has remained a consistently strong pick for a long time, her build has seen a bit of a shakeup over the past couple of patches. Manamune Rush into Sanguine Blade and Infinity Edge has started to gain a lot of traction and is actually her highest win percent build on the patch. We've seen Draven run a similar build like this for a while now, and it seems to be working just as well for Miss Fortune. Now this isn't to say that her standard crit build is weak now, you just have options. Essence Reaver into Infinity Edge and Bloodthirster is still amazing for her, so look to try both out and see which one you prefer. Press the Attack is still the best keystone on MF if you're building her crit, and even if you're going the Manamune route. However, Dark Harvest is a viable option for the Manamune build if you want to try a new page out. When you're banning as an ADC, it's usually best to get rid of heavy engaged champs or assassins that are difficult for you to kite out. For this reason, we suggest you ban Zed, Yasuo, or Hecarim when playing MF. We'd lean even further towards Yasuo being your number one ban because his win wall can completely cancel your ult in teamfights. An unconventional AP carry pick we think is super strong at the moment is Veigar. This champ is just so great for the lower ranks for both mid lane and bot due to his point and click burst and crazy scaling power. We really like him down in the bot lane at the moment due to his synergy with meta supports and your ability to snowball super hard once you hit level 6. Throw him together with a Leona, Thresh, Morgana, or Nautilus and you have yourself a guaranteed kill at level 6 every single game. His weak point is the first few levels, so just don't try to do anything too crazy. Farm up, get your Q stacking, hit level 6, and then you can start to take over the game. For your build, rush a GOP into Twin Shadows, and then Deathcap if you're going for the Glacial Rune setup. If you're opting for the more bursty Electrocute page, then still rush a GOP, but go Zhonya second and then Deathcap third. If you're playing with one of those more aggressive supports, then rolling with Electrocute as your keystone can give you some added laning power and make your one-shot even stronger. In a more passive lane where you're looking to scale, running Glacial is still a perfectly viable option, as it allows you to provide your team with an immense amount of utility once you hit 2 items. Good bans when playing as Veigar are Brand, Swain, and Zyra. You really just want to get out of the early stages unscathed as Veigar, so banning out an early game poke support can help you achieve that easier. Our final ADC pick of the patch is Ashe. Ashe ended up getting a really small change this patch to her W, where the amount of arrows she shoots now scales with the rank in the spell. The change overall didn't hit her power level, so she remains on top as one of the best ADCs for the lower ranks. The utility she provides her team, combined with her strong laning power and all-in at level 6, makes her an optimal pick to climb with. For your build, you have two different options. If you're the only engage your team has, or you just want your ult on a shorter cooldown, then rush an Essence Reaver into Hurricane and Infinity Edge. If you want more dueling power and sustain, then the Bork Rush is a great alternative. Your rune page will have lethal tempo as your keystone, along with free boots and approach velocity in the secondary tree. And similar to Misfortune, best bans for Ashe are heavy dive champions. For that reason, Zed, Yasuo, and Hecarim will be the 3 recommendations again. Finally, let's finish off by running down the 3 best low elo support picks for 1022. For this patch, we have a rare occurrence to where one champion is the best pick in multiple roles. That champ is Brand. We featured him for mid lane and we just had to have him here for support as well, due to how strong he is after his buffs. Right now, he's got upwards of a 53% win rate in gold and an even more astounding 55% win rate in silver and below. This kind of win rate is just unheard of for a champion, and it just goes to show how massive the buffs were for him. Sometimes when a champ has such a high win rate, it's due to low sample size, but this isn't the case at all for Brand. He's got the 6th highest play rate for any support right now at 9%. Whenever a champion has a massive win rate along with a high play rate, you know they are in OP territory. We already touched on why Brand got stronger when we talked about him in the mid lane, so let's just jump into looking at the setup you want to be running on your support Brand. For his build, nothing has really changed. Rush a Liandry's followed up by Rylai's, and then finishing off with a Zhonya's if the enemy team has heavy dive, or a Morello if they have a lot of healing. For your runes, it's the exact same as we discussed earlier for mid lane. Take Dark Harvest with Sorcery Secondary. The best bans to consider when picking Brand are any hard engaged support. We would advise you to prioritize Leona, Blitz, and Maokai. Another super strong AP carry support you can play for this patch is Swain. Like Brand, Swain offers a great amount of carry potential from his support role, as he builds full damage, has great potential in his kit, and can still soak a lot of damage whenever his ult is up to provide his team with a nice front line. His W makes scouting unwarded areas super easy, so you should never be face checking bushes with this champ. Because of this spell, your ability to control vision is better than most supports in the game. The key to your success on Swain is fishing for your E when the enemy ADC goes for last hits. If you can get used to doing this, then you're gonna find yourself hitting this spell so constantly early on and getting many kills. Your build will be a Liandry's rush into Zhonya's and then Rylai's. There's really nothing better at the moment. The rune page is a bit less straightforward. Take Electrocute as your keystone and then you have options for your secondary page. Precision with Presence of Mind and Tenacity works great for Swain because he drains a lot of mana in teamfights. If you don't find yourself running into mana issues, then Inspiration Secondary with Perfect Timing and Cosmic Insight is what the majority of Swain players run. Consider banning Brand this patch just because of his overall strength. The 2 other great options would be Lulu and Lux. Finishing off this video, our final champion recommendation is Leona. She's arguably the strongest engaged support you can play regardless of ELO for 1022. Her long-range CC lockdown combo along with her tankiness from W and Aftershock make her an insanely strong champ in early skirmishes and in all-in scenarios. Play for the level 2 spike on Leona and look to be aggressive early on. If you can get yourself a lead within the first couple of levels, her ability to zone and deny the enemy ADC from then on out is really insane, especially when she gets level 6. Your build should be a Zeke's Rush followed by Knight's Vow and Stoneplate third. If you feel like your team is lacking tankiness, then you can grab Stoneplate first or second, but these 3 items are generally the core for Leona. As we mentioned a moment ago, your runes should have Aftershock as your keystone, with Biscuits and Cosmic Insight in your secondary page. Leona's hardest matchups are Morgana, Taric, and Janna due to their stronger peel and ability to negate Leona's hard engage. Choose among those 3 as your ban when playing Leona. Before we close this out, you should know where our guides come from. Our hyper improvement platform Skillcapped is the #1 place to actually start improving at League of Legends. You can input your rank before signing up to see where we think you'll climb. Then, if you don't hit that rank while actively using Skillcapped, you can claim a full refund. That's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. We offer this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't, then you shouldn't pay for it. Check us out right after this. Alright, so that's gonna be all for today, guys. Best of luck to everyone in your end of season climbs. Be sure to consider adding a pick or 2 from this video to your champion pool if you really want to hit that next rank before the end of the season. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.